carry the nation, soldiers to stand and lead. Thank you for giving your lives for us, our warriors. Don't give up, don't be afraid. There's a world out there that needs you. You're the brave, the chosen few. Got your back, we'll make it through. Heroes to carry the nation, soldiers to stand and lead. Thank you for giving your life for us, our warriors. Let's stand up, we'll make a change. It's the pain we shed, we bleed too. You're the brave, I'll fight for you. Got your back on the battleground. The nation, soldiers to stand and lead. Thank you for giving your life for us, our warriors. The nation, soldiers to stand and lead. Thank you for giving your life for us, our warriors. Heroes to carry the nation, soldiers to stand and lead. Thank you for giving your lives for us, our warriors.
Hello, I'm General Jim McConville, the 40th Chief of Staff of the Army. On behalf of the Army's 1 million soldiers, welcome to this special virtual performance of Twilight Tattoo. Today's Army looks a lot different from the one founded 245 years ago, but our principles of service to this nation have never changed. Whether protecting our country from tyranny, terror, or disease, we remain committed to protecting the nation. Enjoy the show, stay safe, and Army strong.
Hello, my name is First Lieutenant Mike Deuce from Omaha, Nebraska.
Hello, everyone. I am Sergeant Paige Lewis from Needles, California.
And I'm Private First Class Patrick Alamia from Newport Richey, Florida. Imagine, if you will, a Wednesday evening, 90 degrees, 90% humidity, and bleachers filled with thousands of students and families.
Every summer, the soldiers of the Old Guard and the U.S. Army Band put on a live showing of the history of the U.S. Army in a weekly live performance called Twilight Tattoo.
Due to health precautions, we are unable to present that to you tonight. However, we have put together a virtual experience that celebrates our Army birthday and recognizes the contributions of the Army to our country, but with air conditioning.
The American Revolution was our 8-year-long struggle for independence. The conflict witnessed the birth of America's Army on 14 June 1775. The raw militia units that comprised that force were severely tested in the early years of the Revolution. Under the leadership of General George Washington, a professional American army emerged from the trials and tribulations of Valley Forge as a trained, battle-tested, and highly organized fighting force comprised of Continental Infantry, Mounted Dragoons, and Artillery.
Sound assembly! Make ready! Take aim! Fire! Advance! Fire long! To the front! March! March! Charge! Bandits! Charge!
Throughout our history, in moments of crisis or danger, the Army's answered our nation's call. This year's Twilight Tattoo theme is America's Army. When we are needed, we are there. It's as true today as ever.
Over 200 years ago, our national anthem was born, when Francis Scott Key saw our glorious flag still flying over Fort McHenry during the War of 1812. Here are members of the United States Army Chorus to sing the Star-Spangled Banner.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Today, your Army maintains a constant state of readiness. American soldiers remain decisively engaged, defending our interests, engaging our partners, deterring would-be adversaries, and taking the fight to our enemies around the globe.
America's success in military conflict has been achieved by combining advancing technologies with the professional excellence of the American soldier.
Conflict after conflict, innovative tools and well-trained hands have proven critical to victory.
Most of you know the Army as a premier fighting force in the world, but American soldiers have had a profound impact on many other aspects of American life since the founding of our nation. Watch as we highlight a few of the great contributions of the United States Army throughout our history.
America's Army played a pivotal role in shaping the early republic. Captains Lewis and Clark were Army officers sent out with soldiers of the Corps of Discovery by President Thomas Jefferson to explore the lands acquired in the Great Louisiana Purchase. Did you know that Thomas Jefferson was convinced the explorers would encounter herds of woolly mammoths and giant ground sloths? Fortunately for them, all they found was 122 new animal species and 178 unknown species of plants.
Arlington National Cemetery was originally Confederate General Robert E. Lee's estate that was confiscated by the Union during the Civil War. The first graves in the cemetery were those of soldiers who fought in the war. Today, Arlington is the final resting place of over 400,000 men and women who have served their nation and is the location of the tomb of the unknown soldier, guarded by the members of the 3rd Infantry Regiment, the Old Guard.
The United States Capitol Dome may well be the most famous man-made landmark in America. Montgomery C. Meigs, a captain in the Army Corps of Engineers, was the principal superintendent of construction, which was completed even as the Civil War raged, a symbol of our perpetual union. The bronze Statue of Freedom is the crowning feature of the dome. It stands 19 feet, 6 inches tall, and weighs approximately 15,000 pounds.
U.S. Army engineers, led by Lieutenant Colonel Thomas Lincoln Casey, were responsible for completing construction of the marvel of the Washington, D.C. skyline, the Washington Monument, after the project had been abandoned due to the start of the Civil War. D.C.'s height laws state that no building can be built more than 20 times taller than the width of the street in front of it, or 160 feet, whichever is shorter, making the Washington Monument at 555 feet, by far the tallest building in D.C.
Fort Myer is home to the first flight of an American military aircraft. Some of the buildings you see in this video still stand today. Following the first flight, development of the military aircraft continued, and the Wright brothers built and delivered the Wright military flyer to Fort Myer on June 18, 1909. The speed test resulted in top speed of 42 miles per hour. We've come a long way since then. The average speed of today's Apache helicopter is 227 miles per hour.
In 1917, the Army was called upon to deploy massive formations overseas to defeat the armies of the German Kaiser in World War I. American soldiers under General of the Army's John J. Pershing arrived at the rate of 10,000 men a day on the Western Front in the summer of 1918. John J. Pershing is also the general that directed the Army Band be organized. The home of Pershing's Zone, the United States Army Band, resides at Joint Base Myer-Henderson Hall. Though World War I has also been called the war to end all wars, less than a generation after that conflict, the forces of tyranny and oppression again threatened our country and our allies in the Second World War. After the bombings of Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941, American forces waged brutal campaigns in the Pacific and European theaters, with soldiers fighting from the jungles of New Guinea to the deserts of North Africa and the mountains of Italy. On D-Day, June 6, 1944, American and Allied forces, led by Supreme Allied Commander General Dwight Eisenhower, commenced the liberation of Europe with the largest airborne and amphibious landings in history. Over 100,000 U.S. and Allied soldiers stood poised to execute Operation Overlord.
Gather around and take a knee. You guys can take your helmets off if you want. You guys proved yourselves in Sicily, and we've all come a long way together. Tomorrow, when we jump into France, others are going to be hitting Omaha Beach right behind us. The man at the top, General Eisenhower, he wrote a letter for all of us soldiers going into battle. This is his letter. You are about to embark upon the great crusade toward which we have striven these many months. The eyes of the world are upon you. The hopes and prayers of liberty-loving people everywhere march with you. Your task will not be an easy one. I have full confidence in your courage, devotion to duty, and skill in battle. We will accept nothing less than full victory. Good luck, and let us all beseech the blessing of Almighty God upon this great and noble undertaking. Well, guys, that's for Mike. He trusts us. There's going to be a hell of a lot of fighting, but we're going to get the job done, and we'll push those Nazis back to Berlin. Shoot straight, stay calm. It's all in our hands now. Follow me!
The successful D-Day assault in Normandy set the stage for the collapse of Nazi Germany and the end of World War II. American soldiers stormed across the plains of Europe as their counterparts in the Pacific attacked island fortresses to turn back the Japanese advance. Despite fanatic resistance by the enemy, American soldiers would emerge victorious in both European and Pacific theaters in 1945.
The peace that so many had fought and died for in World War II lasted just a few short years. In June 1950, the Cold War turned hot as American forces joined with the United Nations to resist communist aggression in Korea.
Over 1.8 million American service members fought desperate battles at places like Heartbreak Ridge, Pork Chop Hill, and Sandbag Castle, before an armistice, which continues to this day, was signed, and the fighting came to an end.
I am Lieutenant Joe Clemens. In April of '53, shortly before the armistice, I was in King Company, 7th Infantry Division. We were ordered to hold Pork Chop Hill, sort of a message to the enemy. No matter how many assaults they launched, we would not budge. In a faraway land, these soldiers gave everything to fight off communist aggression. Many had already served in World War II. They are brave and the very best we have. The soldiers you see here now are forever memorialized on the National Mall at the Korean War Memorial. The sacrifices we made gave the people of South Korea the chance to build the thriving democracy they have today.
Since the birth of our nation, American soldiers have demonstrated exceptional technical competence, possessed unquestionable character, and committed themselves to professional ethics and values. The U.S. Army Drill Team embodies all of these attributes.
And now, the most difficult maneuver of all. The soldiers will continue to march as members from the front rank toss their rifles into the air over the formation to be caught by the soldier in the rear rank. This is again an exercise in trust, as each member will have to put their safety in the hands of their brothers in arms. This is the United States Army Drill Team's signature maneuver since 1958, the front to rear overhead rifle toss.
The origin of American military music can be traced to the fifers and drummers of the Revolutionary War. This musical heritage is represented today by the soldiers of the United States Army Old Guard, Fife and Drum Corps.
Both teams represent today's soldiers, as well as yesterday's heroes, who proudly fought in the Revolutionary War and continue to serve in the mountains of Afghanistan, throughout the Middle East, Europe, Korea, and around the world.
Less than a decade after the end of hostilities in Korea, the Army was called upon once again to confront our nation's enemies in Southeast Asia.
The Vietnam War was our nation's longest conflict before the campaign in Afghanistan.
The men and women of our Army fought in incredibly challenging conditions, but never wavered in their courage and commitment to the nation and each other.
For their valor in Vietnam, 174 United States Army soldiers have been awarded the highest military decoration, the Medal of Honor. On July 18, 2016, Lieutenant Colonel Charles Kettles received this medal for his actions as a flight commander during that conflict.
Today was a tough one. the 101st was ambushed by a North Vietnamese Army battalion. When I found out, I volunteered to head up a team of 6 Huey helicopters to bring in reinforcements and get our wounded out of there. The LZ was hot, with small arms fire and automatic weapons, but we had a job to do. After 3 total trips, we were able to get enough soldiers on the ground to help the fight and evacuate most of the wounded. On the last flight back, the gunships headed home from lack of fuel and ammunition. Artillery shut down for the same reason. But there was still more to evacuate. I didn't think twice. I turned around for the 4th time, and I got the boys out of there.
As we emerged from conflict in Southeast Asia, we asked ourselves, how do we need to evolve to meet new challenges? The Army went to work on changes to our doctrine, equipment, our organizations, our personnel systems, and how we trained.
Are you more likely to do something if you're told or if you volunteer? In 1973, the Department of Defense eliminated the draft to create an all-volunteer force. These soldiers became the foundation of a new, highly motivated team that transformed America's Army into the world's most professional, capable, and lethal military force.
After Vietnam, the Army developed new training and leadership methods to create the highly professional and educated officer and non-commissioned officer corps that are the backbone of our Army today.
Who would build a fort in the middle of 1,000 square miles of the Mojave Desert? What some would see as a barren, desert terrain, the United States Army saw as an incredible environment to train individual soldiers as well as large formations and cutting-edge tactics and technology. Fort Irwin, the National Training Center, exemplified the Army's training revolution. The Army was now training like it would fight and win as a team.
The Army also achieved amazing technical advances in this revolutionary era. No other nation on the face of the earth could compete as America developed weapons like the Big Five, the Abrams tank, the Bradley fighting vehicle, the Apache and Black Hawk helicopters, and the Patriot missile.
Many young men and women in the audience today may think Air-Land Battle is just another online video game. It actually takes its name from the innovative warfighting doctrine that the Army created and refined in the post-Vietnam era. Air-Land Battle emphasized close integration between all elements of the Army: infantry, armor, aviation, artillery, and special forces, while attacking the enemy throughout the depth of its forces.
The integration of technology, planning, training, equipment, and leadership set the foundation for victory over the following 3 decades in places like Grenada, Panama, the Balkans, and most notably, the Middle East.
The first foreign major military crisis for the United States in the post-Vietnam era presented itself in August 1990 when Saddam Hussein ordered his forces to invade Kuwait. This was no ordinary act of aggression. Iraq's army, the 4th largest in the world, was well equipped with more than 650,000 frontline troops, 4,200 tanks, 700 aircraft, and 3,100 artillery pieces. Iraqi army and its vaunted Republican Guard were also battle-tested, having just fought an 8-year war with Iran. Still, in just 100 hours of ground combat, the U.S. Army achieved a stunning victory over Iraq, liberating Kuwait and demonstrating the professionalism, dedication, and high level of training of our soldiers. Added to the history books were new victories, such as the Battle of Wadin al-Batin, the Battle of Medina Ridge, and the Battle of 73 Easting, the largest tank battle fought by U.S. forces since World War II.
The success of our Army in the 1980s and 1990s was due to the changes we made after Vietnam. These changes prepared us for the battle that was set in motion on September 11th, 2001, and saw the Army defending American interests against terrorists around the globe in places like Iraq and Afghanistan.
United States military has begun strikes against al-Qaeda terrorist training camps and military installations of the Taliban regime in Afghanistan.
The start of the campaign calls shock and awe.
So I've committed more than 20,000 additional American troops to Iraq.
American troops will now train Iraq's 650-member security forces in Operation New Dawn.
Almost a decade in, the hunt for al-Qaeda in one part of eastern Afghanistan looks like this. Americans pushing the Afghans to the front, taking the high ground.
Today, the U.S. Army is leading the Department of Defense's response to COVID-19 across the United States, supporting multiple federal agencies, including the Federal Emergency Management Agency. We are providing cities and towns across America with manpower and equipment, partnering to convert spaces into hospitals in order to make an immediate difference. Our strong network of alliances and partnerships is critical to combating this virus globally. Everyone from National Guard troops to our Corps of Engineers are working together. The total Army force is in the fight to safeguard our nation. Over 25,000 retired and ready reserve soldiers and more than 46,000 National Guard soldiers are supporting efforts in all 50 states. Protecting our people has been the #1 priority from the start, and our commitment to limiting the spread will keep us trained and ready to defend America. America's Army. When we are needed, we are there.
For more than 200 years, during the toughest time, the military has used music to ease our fears, inspire hope, and remind us of who we are. We're going to get through this tough time together. Thank you, and Army Strong.
I don't know if you can see the changes that have come over me. In these past few days, I've been afraid that we might drift away.
So I've been telling old stories, singing songs that make me think about where I came from. That's the reason why I know we're gonna be okay.
Oh, let me tell you that I love you, that I think about you all the time. America, you're calling us, still our home, sweet home. And if we let this crisis change us, you know that it would make me more than sad. America's been everything I've ever had.
Things have changed and they keep on changing. Freedom's lost and our fears are raging. Those who serve keep our hopes from fading. Their courage lights our way.
Oh, we've got to try and keep on trying. Times are tough, yes, there's no denying. We'll travel on, our banners flying, steady in the wind.
Oh, let me tell you that I love you, that I think about you all the time. America, you're calling us, still our home, sweet home. And if we let this crisis change us, you know that it would make me more than sad. America, you're everything I've ever had. Now I'm sitting here before the fire,
An empty room, a forest choir. The flames will cool, won't get much higher. They'll wither till they're gone. And I'm steady thinking our way is clear, and we know what we will do tomorrow. We may be shaken, but we won't be bowed, and we will persevere.
Oh, and let me tell you that I love you, that I think about you all the time. America, you're calling us, still our home, sweet home. And if we let this crisis change us, know that it would make me more than sad.
America, you're everything I've ever had.
As the Army comes out of a decade plus focused on counterinsurgency, we recognize that we need to change again to remain the world's preeminent land power.
We cannot be an industrial age army in the information age. To stay at the forefront of a changing environment, the Army's priorities remain readiness, modernization, and reform.
One result of the Army's ongoing success in the fight against terrorism is the Army recognizes the need to adapt to meet the challenges of a changing world, just like it did after Vietnam. We are developing new doctrine, formations, and equipment, changing our approach to how we encourage the nation's best and brightest through a focus on recruiting and talent management. This will ensure America's Army remains ready whenever and wherever America needs us.
Talent management enhances Army readiness by maximizing the abilities of every person. The Army's 150 unique career fields and 8 broad specialty areas highlight the growing number of professional opportunities available to every Army recruit.
The Army is people. People are the Army's greatest strength and most important weapon system. People means soldiers in the regular Army, National Guard, Reserve, Army civilians, and Army families that support our troops. People from all walks of life, serving in many different ways.
The requirements of combat constantly evolve, and your Army will always adapt to remain the most effective and reliable military force on the planet.
We need warriors from all fields and are joining with industry leaders in science, technology, and engineering to forge the future of our fighting forces.
Together, and with the unwavering support of you, the American people, we will continue to be America's winning team for another 245 years.
I am an American soldier. I am a warrior and a member of a team. I serve the people of the United States and live the Army values.
I will always place the mission first. I will never accept defeat.
I will never quit.
I will never leave a fallen comrade.
I am disciplined, physically and mentally tough.
Trained and proficient in my warrior tasks and drills.
I always maintain my arms, my equipment, and myself.
I am an expert and I am a professional.
I stand ready to deploy, engage, and destroy the enemies of the United States of America in close combat.
I am a guardian of freedom and the American way of life.
I am an American soldier.
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 It has been a pleasure for the United States Army to present this virtual performance of Twilight Tattoo for you. The soldiers of the 3rd U.S. Infantry Regiment, the Old Guard, and the United States Army Band, Pershing's Own, thank you for helping us honor the selfless service of American soldiers, past and present. Army strong.
Well, if you ask me where I come from, well, here's what I tell everyone. I was born by God's dear grace in an extraordinary place with the stars and stripes and the eagle fly. It's a big old land of countless dreams, happy
raise my kids. Yeah, the same way that my daddy did.